Hi folks, hope you're okay today. It's good to be with you. You can get me on Facebook, Twitter, and my website jasonbirdspreacher.com, and you can also get me on Amazon. It's good to be with you and love to everybody out there. I'm making this video. I think it's a very important video, and I hope that some civil servants, some political leaders may chance to watch this video, and I hope it makes them think, because it's a very serious video and a very important video. It's concerning Brexit. I don't know if it's true or not, but Rebel Media put out a video the other day showing that some documentation that the Prime Minister had done a deal with Angela Merkel behind David Davis' back concerning eventually bringing Britain back into the European Union, etc. Whether that's true, I don't know. But what I do know is that you have the civil service, the British civil service, and you have over 400 or more MPs that are prevaricating and have worked to undermine the will of the British people. So I just want to say a few things which are very important. This is the biggest constitutional crisis, as I'm sure many of you know, that our country's seen for at least 50, maybe 100 years or more. It's probably one of the biggest constitutional crises that we've ever been in. And I need to state the implications of what is happening to any civil servant or any politician out there, because I do think that you do live in a Westminster kind of bubble and don't really fully appreciate what's going on. Because the way it looks to many people outside the Westminster bubble is you're clearly undermining the will of the British people, 17.5 million people. And I think many people looking from outside into the Westminster bubble are very, very angry. That goes for Remainers and Leavers, of the undermining of the democratic right of the majority that voted to leave. And it's very clear to everybody that there is this stubborn arrogance concerning many MPs, that they know better than the British people, and they will continue to do what they feel they have to do, regardless of the will of the British people. It exacerbates the situation and makes even more people angry when the media, the BBC and other media outlets, and the business community, i.e. the City of London, constantly throwing out Project Fear every day, and basically trying to twist the mind of the British people to acquiesce and accept this watered down version of Brexit, which really is a wanting to go back into Europe. So I just want to spell out some implications, because the Westminster bubble, you need to realise some of the implications that's happened. And I stress this with all seriousness and with all propriety, that basically you've undermined British democracy, that you're paving the way, and I say this with all seriousness, you're paving the way for revolution in the future, because people will feel alienated from politics. For example, there'll be millions of people now that will never ever trust the Conservative Party and never ever can trust the Labour Party, and politics is going in the wilderness. You're never going to have a majority. Politics is gone. It's broken down, and it will not be repaired for many, many years because of what you've done. So, but you've alienated vast swathes of British people from the political mechanisms, and people might flock to the to UKIP or to new parties, but the reality is that those in power, those MPs who have done this, who are in power, will continue to have that power, will continue to manipulate and control the narrative in British society. And so even these minority parties, in the end, are not going to be able to change things. So what you've done, really, is you've created a two-tier system. One of an elite kind of mindset and group of politicians, civil servants, and business people in London who are hell-bent in going along with what the bureaucrats in Europe want, and the vast majority of ordinary people in Britain who don't want nothing to do with it. And in the end, people are going to be so sick of politics that you will create a revolution. You create, I'm sad to say, but you'll create a civil war. That's where we're heading in the next 10 to 15 years. It'll be like the Ukraine, where people wanted to go into Europe and people wanted to stay in Russia, and there was a civil war. You've broken British democracy so badly that we will be open to anything. A right-wing coup, or something, something. We'll be open to revolution. We'll be open to extremist groups. We'll be open to continental politics where we won't get anywhere. There'll be no majority. We'll just be in the wilderness, fighting amongst each other, never getting anywhere, or never a majority in the political sphere. That's what you've done. You've basically took an axe to British democracy, and you've basically chopped it down, basically. What you've done is so bad and so serious that it unless you allow us to pull out with no deal and just leave, unless you do that, I'm sorry to say, but you've laid the axe to British politics and democracy, and it will never be repaired. And we will stumble on from year to year, to crisis. And then one day, someone will say enough's enough, and there'll be revolution. There will be a civil war. That's the damage that you've done. You've set the seed of the fall of Britain. The very seed of the destruction of British democracy has been set now. That's the seriousness of what you've done. So you can bat it off, and you can say, have your intellectual proud arguments, or feeling that, no, this is all nonsense. No, we're virtuous. We're virtuous MPs, and we're doing the right thing, and have all your rhetoric or whatever. But I'm telling you, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. You're never going to have a majority ever again in British politics. You're never ever going to. It's never going to be the same again. The days of the Conservatives, of the Labour Party, the days are over. You're finished. The whole political class is finished. You've alienated yourselves from the British people to the point where there's no return. Unless you leave with no deal. Unless you actually realise the insanity where you've taken us. to that you've taken us to the brink. By rights, you should be taken to court on treason. By rights, you are breaking the law, and you should be held accountable for what you've done. You have committed treason. You've gone behind the British people's back. And that's where it's going to happen, because you're going to find that there will be an element of people that will never forget what you've done, and will want people to be accountable for this. So my advice to the civil servants and the politicians is, the whole thing is collapsing, the whole thing is going. Your whole little political correct little bubble that you've had for the last 10, 20 years is gone. It's over. You're in meltdown, and unless you pull up soon and get some old-time values back in the country, and unless you get some common sense back in the country, unless we get some proper leadership in the country, unless we obey the British people that they voted to leave, unless you pull up and do these things, then I'm sorry to say, this country is heading... This is only the beginning of birth pains. It's going to get 100 times worse. The seed has already been sown for the destruction of this country because of what you've done in Brexit. You've already sown the seeds of the end of this country. So, here. Well done. Well done, politicians. Well done for destroying our country. Well done for destroying democracy. Bravo, bravo, bravo. That's what you've done. Well done.